Hi everyone, I'm John and welcome to Crabby Morning. We're going to be discussing mental health today, so trigger warning if you are uncomfortable with the topic. We're just going to be discussing some of our own experiences, especially in these times when it's becoming more and more common. Introductions. My name is John and I'm here with.
Dylan.
Liam.
And Kayla.
And we're going to start off with Liam. So, Liam, what are your experiences?
Well, I've always dealt with depression from an early age because of school. I had a lot of teachers who were not very kind to young me, and that, I guess, kind of made me detached from the world and kind of to distance myself from people and have a lack of trust in new people trying to meet or talk to them. And I guess over the years, I've developed more skills to kind of try to reach out and to open new branches to the social branch and kind of open myself more to the outside world instead of shutting myself off and just kind of blocking out all the extra noise in my head. And it's been a long road, but I'm still going on it.
Okay, Liam. You have been moving a lot of different places, so you had to go to a bunch of different schools. Do you have any particular, particular age range in which it affected you the most?
Um, I guess it was probably middle school when I kind of realized that I just felt more um, isolated from everyone else. Like I felt like I was different. Like I felt everything I did was wrong, or everything I tried to do was not good enough.
Yeah, I feel like middle school is just a really like a weird time period for everyone. Like when we talk to our friends in high school, they're like and mention like middle school, and they're like, I
Yeah.
remember middle school me, so
No.
cringe.
Middle school is also the time when I think the work really builds up, and you, like you said, you get a lot of self doubt, and you don't know like how you're gonna go about doing that, and that creates a lot of stress, and that only builds up more and more when you get into high school.
I guess it probably didn't help that I was my own worst enemy, and the fact that I was severely bullied in middle school or late elementary school. So they kind of put it into my head that I wasn't worth it as a human being, and I still think that to this day. But I'm slowly not thinking about that anymore, and I'm trying to be better.
Also, middle school is a weird time for a lot of people because it's like the transition from child to adulthood. So everybody is also trying to like find themselves, and they don't always take the right approach with it.
Mm-hmm.
And end up hurting other people along the way.
I think that some other kids will see that, and they'll take advantage of that, and that's what leads to bullying a lot of the time. Um, and it's not fair. I mean, you're still like learning different things about yourself and about like the best way that you can educate yourself. It's it gets very frustrating when you're trying to do so many different things and people are trying to ruin that.
Yeah, they ruined a lot of experiences I tried to do in middle school. Things I liked, I don't enjoy as much as anymore, but I'm going back to that, and I'm enjoying it a lot more than I used to.
It's awesome. All right, so Kayla, you mentioned middle school is a weird transition phase. Um, what do you think is a character? Do you think that you changed a lot since middle school?
I believe I have changed a lot since middle school. I have suffered with depression since about maybe 13, and it's most of my teenage years that I can remember it got really bad for me, especially with bullying and some assaults that had happened to me in middle school and some of high school. But I just felt like I already had the depression, so other people being mean to me kind of like was fuel to the fire that I already had low self esteem in my head. So I felt like I was a prisoner of my own mind.
Yeah.
So it felt like I was trapped in some type of limbo slash purgatory.
What would you guys, if you met somebody who was going through the same things that you were at that time, say a middle schooler or a high schooler that was experiencing similar things, what would you say to them to give them advice, I guess?
I would say that they don't actually mean it. They can say what they want, but in the end, it doesn't really matter because you are your own individual and you can decide what you enjoy and what you like. And I say stick with what you know.
And I think that it's really interesting to say because I remember being asked these same, or watching people being asked these same questions. And as a middle schooler, and I think that when we are younger, we don't really interpret it as being like a actual solution, which is a little bit weird. And as you get older, it becomes a more realistic solution, I guess. But when you're younger, it just seems like all these happy people are giving you advice when that's not exactly the reality, and that's a little bit interesting to me.
That's kind of how I felt. Like I felt all these people who aren't going through what I'm going through don't know what they're talking about. So why would I take advice from someone who hasn't experienced it? Which was kind of, I guess, the wrong way of thinking. Because they're offering help and I'm not taking the help.
Yes. So
Yeah.
do you think that a lot more people are experiencing the same things and you just don't see it? Or do you think that just that you feel things that, or have like a unique experience, do you think?
No, I feel a lot of people are suffering, maybe not the exact same, but very similar situations that I'm going through. But it's just that with me anyway, having depression, it kind of feels like you're the only one going through what it is you're going through.
Yeah, you feel it by yourself and you just don't know if you can lean on someone for help.
Like you were saying, Liam, you feel isolated, right?
Like I had a lot of trust issues and like just trusting new people in general and just socializing or just going to parties like regular kids my age would do, or just going out to society and just experiencing life. I was just afraid of that.
Was it because was the reason that you didn't want to let those people help was because you thought they were going to do the same thing that the bullies were?
Yeah, I guess it's just a deep thing in my subconscious where I feel like at any point someone will just kind of like turn on me and kind of just put me down again. But that's not a mindset you should have because then you'll be alone.
And it's also weird because when you are in this period, then it feels a lot like you gear yourself a lot more towards what other people are perceiving of you, I guess, at least in my personal experience. So that definitely heightens like the anxiety and things that make you might be triggers for you when you go out in public and to different places like that. Is since you're thinking a lot more about what others are thinking of you or how you might be perceived, and it might not be apparent to you or as apparent to you of somebody who is complete or at a more sound mind at the time.
Yeah.
All right. So as of now, we are currently in a time period where more people are feeling isolated because we are in a lot more isolation at this point in time. So, do you guys remember how has being in isolation and in quarantine affected you personally? I'm going to start with Dylan.
It. I actually did have something to say about it too. So for me, it was just it's something that I couldn't really just imagine happening in my lifetime, and
I don't think anyone could.
no, it was just something that just blew my mind because I even remember going to my work, and there were announcements about be sure to wear your mask and to keep people safe, and people going around wearing masks, and I just it was just crazy. And it also it's like all been saying, it's so isolating, and you really you want to interact with the people you care about, but you can't. I mean, you can FaceTime and talk on the phone, but it's not the same as like talking to them in person and interacting with them in a social setting. And I think that that affects a lot of people. um, but when it first started, those few months were, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it didn't help me either because that was kind of like the time period where I was becoming more social and kind of like stepping out of my comfort zone. Then the lockdown happened, and then I kind of just reverted back to my old self. And just like when it did kind of lighten up and a lot of the mandates got lifted and stuff, then you could go out and visit friends and family. I was very hesitant too because I went back to my old mindset. But here I am now doing a podcast with my friends.
And that's, I think, something that a lot of people can find peace in, is doing something that they are passionate about, I guess, or something that is interesting to them. And I know it can be difficult when you are feeling depressed or in that state of mind to find things that you're passionate about. But once you find something, then I think it does give you a little bit of push to get better. Liam, when you don't necessarily live near very many of your friends, so it was a little bit different for you, especially since the only most of the contact was from your school. So you just got in a weird period where you had just left high school, so all of the people from high school had just left, and then you were in a period where you couldn't make more friends because you were locked down. So was that weird for you?
It was very strange for me because I wanted to do all these things. I wanted to go out and try new things that I'd never done before. And then that kind of came to a halt when I got the announcement that the rest of the school year would be closed. So I had half a senior year. But I guess that it made it easier for me to graduate high school.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one thing I will say about school is it was a nice social setting, and after all the lockdowns happened, you kind of were forced into like your own like little bubble in your home.
Yeah.
And it's just something that you're not used to. Like
it didn't help in my depression any.
Well, I would say that something did come out of the lockdown was I got to do a lot of self-thinking, and I got to learn more about myself than I initially thought, and I kind of got an understanding of some of the issues and problems I had, and I became more open-minded to social settings.
During lockdown, I actually never fully understood how much I took, I guess, freedom for granted. Because being able to go anywhere without any restrictions or mandates got taken away from you in like an instant
Yeah.
really hit hard. So I really wasn't coping well with it. It felt as if
The whole world was flipped upside down.
the whole world was ending almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't do the stuff you used to really enjoy. As in like going the basic, like to the store or whatever. Couldn't
Yeah.
do that without a mask or some type of like capacity limit.
Yeah.
And then my depression kind of just went haywire
Yeah.
because I felt so trapped more than I already felt.
Yeah.
So Kayla, when you were when I know when I was in lockdown, I tried to find different things that would occupy my time because I actually had, nothing to do. We probably as well. So what are some of the things that you, I guess, did to occupy your time or to, I guess, distract yourself?
I went outside a lot more, like in my front yard, and just did little random things. Ride my bike, draw, listen to music, FaceTime some people I knew from work.
Was it, do you think it was interesting or like, do you think I guess your relationships with other people, did they become more meaningful or more apparent during this period, I guess?
It did. Like, not being able to just go to someone's house without worrying about getting too close contact or, spreading COVID more. I never realized how much I took for granted, being able to just visit family and friends without having to worry about any of that.
Yeah.
And then having it all taken away from you, it just didn't sit right with me. I felt, though, as if I was going through a withdrawal.
You have such a good what was I gonna say, you appreciate things more.
Yeah.
And I don't think some of us realized that until all this happened. And then it was like, oh crap, I really love doing all these things. And now it was taken away.
It was really hard.
Yeah. I was gonna say I actually wrote a book during quarantine, but I've not published it. But that's how I occupied my time during that period. So that was fun. I enjoy writing, so
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Talking about the relationships, I guess, with the people, I personally was able to find more relationships that were meaningful and able to distinguish between the relationships that I had that I guess weren't as healthy or weren't as strong, and be able to distinguish those from ones that I had already established. And I guess seeing the ones that I did establish that were so strong that I was able to maintain it even though we couldn't see each other, I think that was really helpful to me and something that I learned during this time period. For example, Dylan, you and I are neighbors, so we go to each other's house like all the time, and not seeing each other for 3 months.
Yeah, 3 months.
Even more, actually. I don't even know. But it was so interesting to me. And at first I felt this like betrayal of like, my friend won't let me come over. But afterwards, after a lot of thinking, I just realized that this is just how good it is that we're still able to hop back into it now, and we were still able to somewhat maintain communication during that time period. And I even started contacting some people from my past and just telling them how much I appreciate them and how great they were to me, I guess, so that I could establish these relationships. I think we learned some interesting stuff about each other today. I learned some stuff, and I think that was pretty good to talk about this so openly. So thank you guys for being so open. Kayla, I know you have a place you can, or a website to go to just in case you have any more questions?
I do. So, regarding mental health and where you can find more information in case you want to learn a little bit more about it, I have a website here called www.mentalhealth.gov, and it's a pretty informative website on, mental health, what it is, myths and facts about mental health, early warning signs of someone who might be living with mental health, what to look out for, and just general information about mental health and how you can spread awareness and possibly even help someone cope with mental health. Because I know with COVID and all the lockdown restrictions, a lot of people have been dealing with mental health now more than ever. So I feel like it's good to kind of, build an understanding of what mental health is and how to go about coping with it.
Inform. So, Dylan, would you like to give us our finishing question of the day?
Yes, I would. The question for this episode will be, if you are someone who struggles with mental health, what would you like people to understand about you?
All right, that's it for us today. Crabby morning out, and I hope you have a crabby morning, afternoon, and night. Goodbye, everyone.